Is this a ridiculous question? Maybe not. Maybe yes. Who is right about the nil process? Pope? Nick Saban? Izzo? Why is Mark Pope embracing what others fear? Let's analyze. College basketball is at a historic crossroads, and while many traditional coaches find themselves lost amid the changes brought about by the nil era and the transfer portal, Kentucky basketball coach Mark Pope is emerging as a visionary figure. While legends like Tom Izzo, Nick Saban, and Steve Alford express their frustrations with the new landscape, Pope takes a different stance. He not only accepts the changes, but embraces them as an opportunity to reinvent the sport. I believe this is the best time to be a college coach, Pope said recently, in a statement that contrasts with the sport's most critical voices. For him, the current chaos is not an obstacle, but a chance to create something greater. The players need us more than ever, Pope emphasizes, highlighting that in a world where athletes face unprecedented pressures, from financial agreements to transfer and career decisions, the role of the coach is more crucial than ever. This positive outlook isn't just empty optimism. It's a deliberate strategy. Kentucky basketball, under Pope's leadership, is positioning itself as a program that not only embraces the new realities of the sport, but also leverages them to thrive. With one of the strongest brands in college basketball, the Wildcats have unique resources to attract talent. The collectives are robust, the fan base is passionate, and the program's tradition provides an unparalleled platform for players to build their personal brands. Rather than resisting change, Pope is shaping it to the program's advantage. Meanwhile, other coaches, such as Tom Izzo and Nick Saban, are expressing their concerns about the direction of the sport. Michigan State's Izzo criticizes the influence of middlemen and the loss of college basketball's purity. Saban, before his retirement at Alabama, was even more emphatic, stating that the current model prioritizes pay-for-performance over athlete development. Everything I believed in all those years, 50 years of coaching, no longer exists in college athletics, Saban said, summing up the sentiment of many veterans of the sport. However, while Izzo and Saban lament the past, Pope is looking to the future. He recognizes that the game has changed and that resisting that change will be futile. More than 2,600 players entered the transfer portal in 2025, and nearly 20% of all Division I scholarship athletes changed schools last offseason. Nil valuations for top college stars now reach 7 figures, according to On3's Nil database. These numbers won't decline. The portal won't close. Nil won't disappear. The coaches who will thrive are those who can adapt and build within the system, rather than fight against it. Pope is proving that mindset matters as much as the system. His optimism isn't naive, but strategic. He understands that players are navigating unprecedented challenges at a young age, and that the coach's role is to guide them not just in the sport, but in life. I think our players need us now more than ever, Pope said, emphasizing that modern college basketball requires more than on-court tactics. It requires holistic leadership. Kentucky basketball under Pope is shaping itself to be a trendsetter again. Just as John Calipari transformed the program in the one-and-done era, sending lottery picks to the NBA year after year, Pope is shaping Kentucky for the next phase of the sport. He's building a project based on adaptability, opportunity, and belief in the players he leads. While others question what the sport has lost, Pope wonders what it can still become. In this new world of college basketball, many coaches wonder where the sport went wrong. But Mark Pope is busy building what the sport can be. As Tom Petty would say, he doesn't back down. And maybe that's exactly what college basketball needs right now. Someone who looks to the future not with fear, but with vision. But what about different visions? Let's see. I dug up an old interview with Saban about the nil and see what he thinks. Nick Saban's discourse on the current state of college football and its impact on basketball has also been a mix of blunt criticism and personal reflections, reflecting not only the changes in the sport, but also the challenges he faced as a legendary coach before his retirement. In a March interview that has now passed, Saban got straight to the point, highlighting how the modern dynamics of college athletics, driven by the transfer portal and nil rights, have completely altered the essence of the offseason process at Alabama, his team in this case. Maybe 70 or 80% of the players you talk to, all they want to know are two things. What guarantees do I have that I'm going to play because they're thinking about transferring? And how much are you going to pay me? Saban told ESPN. This observation reveals a scenario in which financial concerns and the pursuit of minutes on the court or field have become absolute priorities for many athletes, eclipsing other traditional aspects of the sport, such as commitment to development within the program or academic achievement. However, despite his criticism, Saban denied that the advent of the nil was the primary reason for his decision to retire. In a recent interview with Fox News' Brett Baer, he explained that his decision was broader, related to the difficulty of promising stability in an increasingly unstable environment. I just never wanted to see the program fail, and I felt like, whether it was recruiting or hiring coaches, people wanted to know how long you were going to be there. Saban said, "When you get to 72, it becomes increasingly difficult to promise people that you're going to be there for another 4 or 5 years." These statements illustrate how changes in sport have impacted even a figure as iconic as Saban. The transfer portal and nil agreements, which allow athletes to monetize their personal image, have created a culture of uncertainty and short-termism. Coaches now face additional pressures, as they must not only compete on the field, but also ensure their programs remain financially attractive to athletes. This reality is particularly challenging for veteran coaches like Saban, whose longevity in the position can be seen as an unknown in a world where promises of stability are essential to attracting talent. Saban also expressed concern about the impact of these changes on the philosophy of college athletics. He has always maintained that the role of sports is to help young people grow as individuals, preparing them for life beyond the field. However, the current model appears to be moving away from this ideal. The emphasis on immediate financial gain and the ease of transferring between programs can hinder the comprehensive development of athletes, something Saban considers crucial. Still, it's important to note that Saban did not directly attribute his retirement to the nil or the transfer portal. For him, the issue was more about the challenge of maintaining an elite program in a constantly changing environment. He acknowledged that Alabama has always been at the forefront of the adaptations needed to compete at the highest level, but admitted that the pressure to ensure stability in a volatile environment weighed heavily on him. "I never wanted to see the program fail," he said, indicating that his decision was motivated by the desire to preserve the Crimson Tide's legacy. Saban's words reinforced the warning for the future of college athletics. While some coaches, like Mark Pope, see opportunities in change, other influential voices, like Saban's, highlight the risks involved. The increase in players' purchasing power and the extreme fluidity of the transfer portal are transforming the sport into something many veterans barely recognize. For Saban, the greatest danger lies not only in structural changes, but in the possibility of the sport losing its essence, one that values human growth and commitment to something greater than money. And now, another coach has weighed in. Tom Izzo also expressed his opinion. Tom Izzo, Michigan State's iconic coach, was vocal in his criticism of the current transfer portal structure and its impact on college basketball. During a press conference filled with candor and frustration, Izzo made clear his dissatisfaction with the system, which in his view is harming both athletes and the sport as a whole. "We created a bad system," Izzo stated bluntly, pointing to the structural flaws that have turned the transfer portal into a chaotic and opaque environment. Michigan State has experienced the consequences of this system firsthand in recent weeks. After the team's elimination from the Elite Eight, 7 Spartans players have left the program or are on the verge of doing so. Some, like Jaden Akins, Frankie Feidler, and Simon Zappala, have exhausted their eligibility, while others, like Xavier Booker, have opted to transfer to rival programs like UCLA. Trey Holloman also announced his transfer to NC State, while Garrick Norman remains in the transfer portal with no clear destination. Jace Richardson, meanwhile, has declared for the NBA draft, where he is projected as a top 15 pick. This exodus reflects not only the volatile dynamics of the portal, but also the external pressure athletes face daily. Izzo was emphatic in criticizing the fact that agents and university representatives are constantly in contact with players, regardless of the official transfer portal period. I know for a fact that people are talking to other people all year long. If that happens on my team, people leave, he said. The coach emphasized that the portal, which was supposed to be a tool to facilitate transfers, has become a 24/7 arena where financial promises, playing time guarantees, and manipulated narratives are used to attract athletes. For Izzo, this scenario is disastrous and detrimental to players' mental health. These kids are being recruited year-round, Izzo said, noting that many of these contacts involve distorted information or even lies. Some are being lied to, and others are being told the truth. The lack of adequate regulation and the absence of transparency create an environment where athletes are constantly bombarded with promises and speculation, often without any basis in fact. This, according to Izzo, profoundly affects players' ability to make informed and healthy decisions for their careers and personal lives. External pressure also manifests itself on social media, where athletes face constant scrutiny. Izzo emphasized that this digital intrusion makes their lives even more difficult, especially when they are at the center of rumors about transfers or NBA draft announcements. The pressure athletes face on a daily basis is extraordinary, he said, acknowledging that this environment can be extremely detrimental to young people's mental health. For Izzo, the current system not only fails to protect players, but also exposes them to influences that can compromise their development on and off the court. While Izzo supports athletes earning money through the NIL, he advocates for clearer rules and stronger barriers to prevent abuse. I wish there was complete transparency, because it would be nice to know if a kid got this offer from MSU and I was working at Northern Michigan, how much would I have to pay him? He asked, suggesting that transparency could help level the playing field and reduce disparities between programs. He also raised the issue of how to prevent agents and intermediaries from having constant access to players throughout the season, something he considers detrimental to the league's competitive balance. Izzo admitted that his own team did not handle the changes brought about by the transfer portal well. Now we're dealing with a crisis, he said, acknowledging that inadequate planning and a lack of preparation for the impact throughout the season cost Michigan State dearly. However, his criticism goes beyond his personal experience. He argues that the system, as it stands, was poorly designed from the start. The system was created without any proper guidelines. It didn't help any player make decisions, he stated, emphasizing that changes need to be made to protect athletes and preserve the integrity of the sport. For Izzo, the solution lies in greater transparency, stricter regulations, and more ethical approach from all involved. He emphasized that athletes need genuine guidance, not empty promises or constant external pressure. At the same time, he argued that coaches and programs need clear rules to compete fairly and sustainably. It's a difficult issue. Comment,